A while back, I made a video called "What Effect Will Fates Have on the Future of Fire Emblem?" I made this video as my 100 subscriber special, reaching a number in triple digits, something I didn't think would happen so soon on my YouTube channel. In fact, had it not been for a little spark of inspiration, I wouldn't be here at all, and I wouldn't have the 2,000 subscribers that I do now. So thank you all for that, firstly. Secondly, ever since I posted that video, a lot of things have changed within the Fire Emblem series, and a few games have been announced that, well, change my outlook on things. Mostly for the better, in fact, and I quite love that. So, I think I should take today to, mostly unscripted, look at what are my concerns and my hopes for the future of Fire Emblem now that we have more information on what the future of Fire Emblem exactly is. Starting off this video, I think it is time that I voice some of my concerns with Fire Emblem Echoes: Shadows of Valentia. While I have no doubt that this game will be good and enjoyable, there are several things that raise red flags for me. The first of which is how they're handling the story. Now, you may think this is weird, as I've done nothing but praise the direction they're taking the story, and I still stand by that. My issue is that Echoes, by nature, as a remake, is effectively a rewrite. It's an expansion of Gaiden. In other words, it's a safe play. And this is perhaps the biggest thing that worries me about Echoes: how safe it is. They're, again, incorporating all the things that made Gaiden unique, like the dungeons, which I hope stick around in future games. But with the story, they seem to be playing it really safe and kind of looking at it like, how do we make the fans happy? I see this mostly in Burkut, who, as of right now, is kind of an enigma. Burkut being, of course, the original villain that they created for Shadows of Valentia. He's this Black Cavalier, which I should have up on screen. He is the nephew of the Emperor of Rigel, and he will make for some interesting interplay if you know the twist in Gaiden. That being said, I'm wary about him. If they can nail Burkut, I will have the utmost confidence in them making villains in the future, since Burkut is an original character. But if Burkut is iffy, and instead the best villains we get in Shadows of Valentia are all the rewritten ones, I'm not going to go and say, hey, our villain problem is fixed, because arguably it isn't. All we're doing is expanding on old material, and I've done that with the Fates rewrites, and it's honestly not that hard to take something underdeveloped and make it good just by rewriting something over about an hour or two. So yeah, I'm not going to say Shadows of Valentia is going to be the game that will fix the series, nor do I think it's the game that will be able to fix our villain problems. If anything, Shadows of Valentia will be a step in the right direction, and if the positivity from the fans comes where I want it to, it will hopefully tell the developers, Intelligent Systems, who I have constantly praised throughout my years of this channel, constantly praise them for listening to their fans. If they listen to their fans again, as they have been very good about in the past, we will see the villains get fixed. I just don't think it will be as fast as some may like it to be. Perhaps Echoes will be a step in the right direction. Perhaps FE Switch might not be the best in terms of villains, but I hope it's still better than Fates, because honestly, Fates has the king of wasted potential, and honestly, you can't go any lower than that, unless they pull something out of their ass that surprises me, which honestly I wouldn't put it past them. With my concerns for Echoes out of the way, how do I see moving on forward with Fire Emblem Heroes and Fire Emblem Warriors, the two spin-offs that we got this year? Well, for Fire Emblem Heroes, it's a bit strange in the fact that it's a mobile game. The biggest thing to come out of Fire Emblem Heroes, and I mentioned this in my collab with the Omni Blade, which you should totally go watch, by the way. I mentioned this, and he mentioned this as well, that the fact that they're including all of these older characters show that they aren't ignoring the series' history, that Fates was clearly an anomaly in terms of pandering to the new fans, and they know where their heart is. Either that or just the voice of the older fans was loud enough that they said, here, have your older characters, now shut the F up. But I don't think that's the case. I think Intelligent Systems, as I've said earlier, genuinely cares about the old fans and wants to please them. They also are aware of the split, I think. And again, that's what sets them apart from most other developers. Even Nintendo themselves. Intelligent Systems is very much aware of its fan base, and I like that. And FE Heroes is certainly a testament to that. The only issue I see with FE Heroes is the fact that it doesn't have all of those old fan favorite characters in at launch. Yeah, we got characters from FE 6, 7, Awakening, and Fates right off the bat, but it took a couple weeks before we got any Sacred Stones characters and any genealogy characters. And then just a few weeks before I recorded this video, we finally got Ike. So it's hard to say whether they included the older characters just to shut us up, or if they were genuinely trying to, introduce the older characters to the newer fans slowly. Which I don't understand why you wouldn't have Ike at the beginning, considering he's such a recognizable face. It's either that, or just not including Ike as a running joke for Fire Emblem spin-offs, and he's going to be DLC for FE Warriors, even though you'd think he'd be a no-brainer. I wouldn't put it past them, in all honesty. I really wouldn't. My biggest concern with FE Warriors is that it's going to turn into another Tokyo Mirage Sessions and only include characters from Awakening, Fates, and then, I guess, Fire Emblem 1 and 3. And I really don't want that to happen. We've made so much progress with that of Fire Emblem Heroes, and all of this love for the older fans that Intelligent Systems is finally giving us, that going back to just pandering to the new fans rather than embracing the entire series would honestly be a huge shot to the gut that I don't want to take. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting them to have an even number of characters from the older games compared to Fates and Awakening. In all honesty, it's pretty obvious that Fates and Awakening will make up the majority of FE Warriors' character roster. What I'm saying is, we should have a 2-to-1 ratio. For every Awakening or Fates character, there definitely needs to be at least one older fan favorite character. For every Chrom and Lucina, we need to get Ephraim. For every Laszlo and Selena, we need to get somebody like Joshua. We need to get those older characters in the game so that more people are exposed to them, so that the newer fans get more curious about the older games. The more newer fans who are curious about more characters, the more likely they are to backpedal. And that is the ultimate goal I want to do, both with my channel and both the series in general. I want every single fan of Fire Emblem to experience and enjoy every part of the series for its own strengths. And as much as I come across as an elitist sometimes, this is what I really want the series to do. And spin-off games like Heroes and Warriors help facilitate this, especially from Intelligent Systems' end. And while it may seem like I'm sucking their dick as a developer, I really honestly feel like they listen to their fans and they want to please them. And I can't think them as anything more than a good developer for doing that. That being said, since Fire Emblem Warriors is being handled by Koei Tecmo, I'm not going to hold my breath. My biggest issue with Koei Tecmo handling it is we're going to see a lot of Camillas, we're going to see a lot of Kageras. At the very least, we're probably going to get Lynn, and she's probably going to get another bust size increased, which, in all honesty, I'm not happy with.
What? Huh? Extra thick!
But if it's what it takes to get that older character into the series, I'll begrudgingly accept it. Now, I know that may sound weird coming from me, but anyways, with Koei Tecmo handling it, there's of course the issue of them just including Fates Awakening, FE1 characters, and maybe some fan favorites like Lynn and Ike, with the rest coming as DLC, which, in all honesty, is what's likely going to happen. And as long as those older characters are in there, as long as we get at least 4 characters from FE7 and a few characters from Tellius at launch, I'll be happy. That is what I want. but my concerns, again, I have already voiced. And finally, we move on to the enigma that is Fire Emblem for Nintendo Switch. We currently know absolutely nothing about FE Switch. All we know is that it's in development. And it's on the Switch, of course. Now, there are of course many directions they could take this game. They could go for something like Radiant Dawn, which honestly is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a Radiant Dawn style approach with a multi-act story that's huge with third tier units, you know, the whole 9 yards. That's what I'm expecting from this new console, Fire Emblem. But at the same time, I want something very different. And as much as I'd love a huge 3-arc monster like Radiant Dawn, with the political intrigue of genealogy, the villains of Sacred Stones, and the difficulty of Thracia, and the gameplay of Conquest, I don't think that they can pull that all off without having to cut some corners. If they get the gameplay right, the story's gonna suffer. If they get the story right, the gameplay's gonna suffer. It's this vicious cycle of wherever Intelligent Systems puts the most effort, shines through, while the rest of the areas kind of lag behind. The only games in the series I think don't fall victim to this are Fire Emblem 7 and Fire Emblem 9, and I guess to a lesser extent Fire Emblem 6. That being said, I honestly expect this game to be great. I really do, and I will think that I have fun playing it. That being said, do I expect much from the story? Well, Fate set the bar kinda low, in all honesty, I don't. But maybe that's their plan all along. Maybe the story's only as good as Fire Emblem 7, which I think has a pretty strong story, but nothing special. In all honesty, I'd take that over a convoluted mess like Fate's any day. If the story is subpar at best, I will be super pleased, because they finally put focus into making something good and enjoyable. But that being said, as much as I'd love a game like that, I'd want a game that's something very, very different. And while I've sat here over many videos claiming that Sacred Stones is my favorite for its story and its characters, I'm beginning to think that what I want out of a new Fire Emblem game, like the kind of direction that I want the series to take, I don't want an in-depth story. I don't want another lion. I don't want that because I have Sacred Stones to play. I have that there. It's not going anywhere. What I want is something very different. Something I never thought I'd say that I wanted in terms of a Fire Emblem game, actually. And upon watching the TV series Firefly for a bit, I think it got me thinking. And here's what I'd want in my sort of dream for FE Switch. I'd imagine a perfectly episodic Fire Emblem game. One that you could tackle in any order. Almost Fire Emblem Breath of the Wild, if you will. And what I was thinking was perhaps the first 5 chapters are locked. Perhaps the first 5 chapters, your avatar gets discovered by a mercenary company and you join up. And then as the first 5 chapters progress, you slowly build up your mercenary company until you gain the respect of a king by defeating a powerful group of bandits. And now you're free to roam the land doing odd jobs. And you suddenly have 40 to 50 maps that just open up to you that you can tackle in any order. And one of the biggest strengths in Awakening was the fact that they made you care about a single stage boss, that being Mustafa. Now imagine every single one of these 50 maps has its own Mustafa within it, is its own self-contained story. We could make some of these maps as big as Genealogy, we could make some of them as small as some of the indoor maps in Sacred Stones and Fire Emblem 7 rather. It could just be this huge celebration of every single gameplay style that made the series good. There'd be some love for the older fans, some love for the newer fans, and there wouldn't even be a concrete story. There would just be these little episodic tales that are all self-contained as you explore this wonderfully diverse and well-written world. And then, the best thing that I think would come out of this game would be the support conversations. Support conversations in Fire Emblem have become the focus of the series since Awakening, and love them or hate them, they are now a big hook for people getting into it. And this would be the ultimate support lover's dream. This game would be told, its story, its character development, everything would be brought through the support conversations. Because the game is so open-ended, you see your units grow as characters throughout the game, and you see all of them grow as characters. My biggest problem with the older games is that nobody gets any screen time other than the main lord and several other characters. This would alleviate that problem. With no set storyline, you have these characters interacting with each other, and it feels like on a natural basis. Because there's so many more maps, we could slow it down, possibly go to E support conversations, have an ED, CBAS, have a huge amount of them, that we could see these characters grow, and we could then even smaller in the cast so that they feel like a more tightly knit group. It would be just this excellent web of character growth and study, and it would feel like a living, breathing mercenary company. That would be a Fire Emblem game that I could find the joy in replaying so often, seeing so many different unit combinations, even more so than Awakening. With Awakening's cast and its support system, it was wonderful, but a game like this, a Fire Emblem Firefly, if you will, it would be the ultimate dream for those kind of people who love Awakening systems. And not only that, but with the OID style gameplay and the instant moral gray, it would be just amazing. That is my dream Fire Emblem game. And that is what I hope Fire Emblem Switch will be, even though I can expect something different. That is the beauty of Fire Emblem. The beauty of Fire Emblem is that it caters to every single style. Do you like story? Play the older games like Fire Emblem 8 and Fire Emblem 6. Do you like gameplay? Well, Thracia and Conquest have you covered. The games contain something for everyone, and I think a kind of episodic game that combines everything that makes the series good would just be a wonderful love letter to fans both new and old. Thank you all for watching, and thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. I have been ZerkMonsterHunter 4. And as always, no matter what games you like to play, and no matter how you like to play Fire Emblem and what you enjoy, as always, happy hunting.